So I'm going to let someone a lot more interesting than myself to speak now. It's going to be Kirksey. He's going to present to the prompt paradigm, revolutionizing programmatic SEO with AI. So please put your hands together and give him a warm welcome to Kirksey.
Good afternoon. Oh, is this connected?
It is not.
It is not, no. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Prompt Paradigm, Revolutionizing Programmatic SEO with AI. Glad to see you all here. I want to talk about something that is very special to me. As I was going through creating a programmatic SEO process, I wanted to figure out how to do it while also addressing all the issues with traditional programmatic SEO. Anything from duplicate content, thin content that's not unique. So today I'm going to go over the challenges with current programmatic SEO strategies and the solutions that we've developed, tactics that you can take with you and apply for some awesome results that we've gotten for ourselves and our clients. So if you could produce any amount of pages that you want, targeting long-tail search volume keywords, you would create as much as you could, right? Especially if they could rank super quickly at the top of Google and start generating leads within 24 hours. So before we get started, my name is Kirksey. I'm the CEO of Direction.com. And I've been making money online since I was 9 years old, basically starting on eBay, moving to building websites. And then I joined the Army in 2011. And in the Army is where I learned multiple languages. So, which is, I went into the Army and I learned Farsi. And it was awesome. It taught me a lot about the art of language. And I was studying different poems in Farsi and things like that. And eventually I moved over to the NSA, where I learned a lot about strategy, how to really dive in and research different things. Moving on into the CIA, where I learned a lot about how to find a target, analyze it, and really dive deep into figuring out how to overcome different problems, solutions, and also how to overcome setbacks, aka Google algorithm updates is basically what that translates into in the world I'm in now. So how's this all relevant? Well, with Direction.com, we provide SEO services, and when trying to create large-scale pages that are super high quality, taking everything I've learned about language and research and studying, we were spending a lot of hours as an SEO agency creating tons of pages. We had clients that were saying, hey, we need a page for every single state in the US. It has to be super high quality, have a lot of great content. And we were like, sure, we'll do it for you. But guess what? It's not very scalable. When you're paying hundreds of dollars per page, obviously you have to charge more so you can make money. So for clients paying thousands of dollars a month, only creating so many pages per month, does the strategy work? Yeah, because you're doing it really well with lots of quality. But we were paying writers tons of money and then waiting forever for these pages to be delivered. We wanted to target all these long-tail keywords because, as you all know, long-tail keywords are where the gold's at. When someone types in Blue American Apparel t-shirts, they know what they're looking for. It's also a lot easier to target those long-tail keywords instead of just t-shirts. So enter the age of AI, and there was, a few years ago, I started playing around with different AI content writing tools. Maybe, I don't know if any of you ever heard of a cool tool. It was called Headline.ai. I don't think it's around anymore, but that was, I think, the first tool that kind of introduced me, and it was really crappy content. And the content to this day still, I don't think it's that great. So I was like, there has to be a better way to get great content out of these large language models that have been filled with millions and millions of books of knowledge and data. So that's when I went back to my roots and studying the art of language. And I read over a dozen different books on the art of eloquence, the art of rhetorical devices, and basically how to create captivating content that converts. And so after putting together probably 40 to 50 different pages in Google Docs of all these notes from these books I was reading, I said, okay, I think now I have what it takes to create great content that no one else is really creating. And that's by leveraging psychographic insights, so information on how people think, act, make decisions. Pairing that with rhetorical precision and eloquence formulas, which are scientifically proven throughout time to be in speeches that sometimes even change the world. And then leveraging the power of randomization and throwing it all into AI for content that ranks quickly and converts. This is an example of one of our landing pages. We created over 300 of these landing pages targeting different cities in different states throughout the US. And guess what? With what I'm about to show you, this process passes all AI detectors. That being said, we don't just use AI and then copy paste. There's definitely some human editing involved, but very, very little. For the most part, almost none. You'll be impressed with the way that leveraging eloquence formulas and rhetorical devices can create content that will literally wow you. I read some of this content and I'm like, I'm not changing any of that. That's incredible. What's this done for us? Well, with over 300 pages published, we're getting anywhere from 20 to 40 leads inbound for SEO services every single month, ever since we launched this. And as I said, with programmatic SEO traditionally, there's a lot of this duplicate content, thin content. I like to call this basically copy-paste pages. The only thing that's different is the city name. And this is a company called Weedman. They are everywhere in the US, at least most of the major cities. And they've tried to launch a huge programmatic SEO strategy. Guess what? Neither of these pages rank at all for anything. They have a few of these pages that maybe rank for a few keywords here and there, but not even on page one. And I mean, that's what happens when you have a strategy that really gives no value. As you all know, Google wants to give the best possible value to the user. But then you got LawnStarter, who has a really high domain authority, and they've launched a very successful programmatic SEO strategy, doing the exact same thing Weedman was doing, but they just did a little more. And they have over 250,000 keyword rankings, but when you look at the actual content on the page, it's generic, boring, nothing about it stands out. And I was like, are these pages ranking? I mean, maybe they're domain authority, and they were kind of the first to market with this kind of strategy in their industry. Right now, this page specifically is on page one, but toward the bottom. Maybe at one point it was higher, I don't know. The solution to creating all these pages without just copy paste and swapping out a city name or something like that is to leverage the art of eloquence and rhetorical devices. So when you're able to leverage psychographic, mathematical, rhetorical, and eloquence formulas, you will create content, you'll create prompts for content dynamically that connect, match search intent, speak to the audience, and withstands any Google core algorithm updates, because these are pages that create true value, highly unique content, and lots of it for the user. We've done this for probably a dozen sites now, and throughout every single update, we've seen nothing but increasing rankings for all these pages that we're creating. Now, how do you do this yourself? Well, we're going to go into the foundational tactics of where to even start. First thing you want to do, create a custom project. We were trying to use AI to create a lot of content, and it was giving us, okay content. We had a lot of manual human editing to do for the content. And then all of a sudden, GPT and Claude come out with these things called custom projects, custom GPTs and custom projects. We started using them. What we found was when we used them, we got significantly better responses. So in my mind, I was like, okay, GPT and Claude, all these large language models, they have millions of data sets of information. So it should automatically pool based on the prompt I give it. Well, wasn't so much the case. So the solution is to create customer profiles. This is an example of one of our Claude projects where we target different types of customers so that when we're prompting GPT and Claude, it can pull data from the given data set that we give it. That way it can speak to all the customer pain points. We have 18 different pain points or different customer profile components that we're building out with a lot of detail. When I say a lot of detail, this is what it looks like. Just an example. We go into the individual overview of the client, their decision-making process, their values and attitudes, the psychographics. The list goes on. And when you can have a very robust data set like this in your custom project, and now you're matching search intent really well, because when you're prompting it, it can properly address all the pain points and even who their decision-making influencers are so that you can overcome any objections. It can write content that really, really speaks well to the audience. We were creating a lot of content this way, and we were saying, okay, cool, but like, why does it keep saying skyrocket and meticulously and all these cutting edge and all these words that just, what the heck? Why is it doing that? We weren't setting custom project instructions. In both GPT and Claude, they give you an option to put custom project or custom instructions into your project. This was super beneficial. We have over like 70 to 100 different do not use words, or what I call banned words list, in every single custom project. So now, when you have a custom project that's built out with super robust and in-depth customer profiles, and you can tell it, hey, don't use any of the words in this list. Well, now you're getting content that really speaks to the target audience, all their pain points, and convinces them to make a purchase. And you're saying it in a great way that doesn't sound like AI. You got some good content coming. But that's not all. Now is when we're going to dive into the prompt artistry tactics. We're going to take an original prompt. What you do next is superpower it with the project knowledge and custom instructions. This is your base. And use the power of randomization. This is where you can randomize tones, eloquence formulas, rhetorical devices, statistics, pain points. The list can go on. The more you have that you can randomize in a single prompt, well, you can get 3.5 million different outputs just from a single prompt by utilizing the power of randomization, eloquence formulas, rhetorical devices, and pain points, desires. And this is just with these numbers right here. In our projects, we actually, there's over 100. It's basically millions and millions of potential outputs. If you were to go hire a writer and say, hey, I'm creating 1,000 landing pages. I need this introduction to sound different, and every single time you write it, I still want it to be incredible, but it needs to be completely unique from the next page, but still say the same thing. That's pretty hard for any writer to do. With AI, it can give you millions of outputs. When we started pairing tones of voice together is where we found real gold. So instead of saying, hey, in a concise tone of voice, instead saying in an ambitious and concise tone of voice. Not just like in an analytical tone of voice, but hey, how about a quantifiably analytical tone of voice? When you start pairing tones together and even go beyond that, we have some tones that we use that have 3 or 4 different tones, but are very similar to each other. And it's really easy to create lists of hundreds of these. You just take one tone and say, hey, GPT, give me 30 variations of this that pair well with one other tone of voice that's very similar. So now you can say the same thing multiple ways. Let's go another step further. Rhetorical devices have been used forever and ever and ever in speeches throughout history by speechwriters writing for presidents, leaders of the world. And the more that I really dove into this, now every time I see anybody speak that's basically a world leader, I'm like, I see what you did there. I see the rhetorical device you used. I see the eloquence formula that you used. That's how they create messages that change the world. And a lot of the time, sometimes even our perspective of the world. Some examples. So eloquence formulas are what I like to call rhetorical devices on top of each other. Just like we're pairing tones of voice together, you can pair rhetorical devices together. And like I said, it's very simple. You just prompt GPT or Claude and say, hey, what goes well with sententia? Give me another rhetorical device that goes well with it. Give me 20 rhetorical devices that go well with it. Now you're building up this massive list of all these rhetorical devices and eloquence formulas that you can use in a single prompt. And when it's randomized, you can have millions of versions of a single prompt. When structuring the prompt, even if you're using it in the custom project, sometimes it still will not use the custom project. So what I found is you still have to tell it in the prompt to strictly adhere to the project custom instructions. Sometimes I'll even go further and say, strictly adhering to the custom project instructions and making sure you don't use any of the words in the banned words list. Then using the information from the project knowledge. In our case, we have a bunch of different customer profiles, so I'll even specify using information from X doc in the project knowledge. For us, we're creating SEO service pages in different cities throughout the US. So in this case, another variable is the city and state. Another thing we found is you want to give it the exact output length and the way that you want it structured. Instead of saying, hey, in 42 words, write this, you say 42 words in one paragraph. Then you want to give it what the goal of the content is. So for us, this is a prompt broken down that is creating the first introductory section on our landing pages. So it's the first thing that people are going to read when they land on these pages. We want them to book a strategy session. And we have over 100 different statistics about SEO. So using the statistics that businesses with a strong online presence generate basically 50% more revenue than those without. So now we're really speaking to the target audience with pain points and statistics that are capturing their attention. And we're going to say this in, for example, a motivational and reassuring tone. And I know some people have brought up to me, well, what about my brand wants to be consistent with this tone of voice? Well, that's when I go back to give me that tone of voice. Now I'm going to give it to GPT or Claude and say, hey, can you give me 20 variations of this that would create the same sort of output, but not be too off-brand? So that's how you can create different tones of voice that are still on brand. And then you want to throw in an eloquence device variable. So, for example, duo opposition. Randomization of all of these different things in a single prompt, you can get millions of different outputs that are super high quality from a single prompt. And the key is the tones, the rhetorical devices, and the eloquence formulas. That's how you get truly unique content that is better content than most of the other pages that you're competing against, and therefore outranking them. And we're seeing results a lot of the time within 24 hours. So how do you get this done? Well, First, you want to start with your keyword research. What I like to do is use both Ahrefs and SEMrush because sometimes I'll find things that one found, the other didn't find. But on top of that, you want to look at your competitors. Who's already ranking for the term that you want to target? Break it down. What do they have on the page? For us in SEO services, all of our competitors were talking about basically the same thing. Backlinks, content creation, local SEO, conversion rate optimization. So we took everything that our competitors had that we wanted to outrank, and then we also added more to it to create an even more robust landing page. But where is all this information stored? Well, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this video or know who Matt Diggity is, but this is the video that really got my mind working and my gears turning to figure out exactly how to leverage all of this information and build it out into ultimately web pages. So this video, if you haven't seen it, this will show you exactly, step by step, how to set up the sheet so that you can implement exactly what I'm showing you. When you're building out the sheet, you want to match it to a template design. This is an example of a home page, and really when you're creating landing pages, they're basically like mini home pages for a service. So I like to lay out the pages almost exactly like it would be a home page. There's lots of examples of different types of high converting home pages you can look up online. I found this one on Twitter. I like it a lot, and we do use it. So when you have the sheet and you're mapping each section of a page to a section on a sheet, you're now having the sheet create different content for each part of the page, and you map it out for each part of the page. Now, once you have the sheet built out, meaning you know everything that you want on your template, and you have your template built out, you know everything you want on the template, it's time to build that custom project and load it up with everything that I went over, with custom profiles, custom instructions. Then you can start building the prompts in the sheet for each section of the page that you're building and start executing them. So the best thing to do is once you have the prompt built out and you randomize it with a formula. So there's Google Sheet formulas, and in that Google Sheet form, you can add a Google Sheet formula to a cell into the middle of content, so that's pulling from another sheet on that same Google Sheet and randomizing the formulas, the statistics, the pain points. Like I said, the more that you're randomizing, the more potential these prompts have to be completely different from each other, but all say the same thing. So you drag and drop that down however many rows for however many pages, and you start copying and pasting it into GPT or Claude. I use both a lot. So I find that depending on the industry, really some excel in Claude, some's better in GPT, depends on the time of day. Sometimes GPT seems really lazy, sometimes Claude seems really lazy. But the other awesome thing is, what we noticed when we were building out these pages and launching these pages, that interlinking was doing something really powerful to the rest of the site. Not only are these pages ranking super quickly, like within 24 hours, we have pages that are ranking and generating leads, but also all the pages we're interlinking to, oh wow, those are going up in rankings too. So there's a lot of power in this, not just for ranking these pages you're making, but also for basically supercharging your entire website. So when you have hundreds of new pages that are super high quality, all interlinking to other pages on your site, you're gonna see a big boost. And then once your sheet's fully filled out, like I said, I would definitely watch that video that Matt has, and that'll show you exactly how to build that sheet out step by step. You upload it to your website. We use WordPress 100%. There are other platforms out there that do allow you to upload a sheet to a template. We have built our own custom plugin to do it. There are plugins out there that you can use to do it yourself. Our plugin will be releasing soon, called Mosaic. It's just one click and the whole sheet uploads and creates pages in seconds. So the results, right? I keep talking about how well this works. Let's dive into it. The pages we publish, over 300, over 1,500 words of unique content per page, over 3,300 keyword rankings. And I made this a little back, so it's actually a lot more now. But and at the time, it was generating, on average, 25 leads a month. I know we've already at least got 20 this month already, and the month's not over yet. And where are these keywords ranking? Well, this is the goal right here. Positions 1 to 3. We have over 300 keywords ranking positions 1 to 3 that are driving leads. But also we found that, look, we were getting leads somehow from positions 4 through 10 too. So we have over 1,000 keyword rankings from these 300 pages on page 1. And then thousands more where no one really cares. But hopefully we'll move those up. Also, this is an example of a client who had what I call copy-paste pages. The only difference in any of their pages, they were doing medical marijuana card renewals. They were searching out the city name, and that was city/state name, and that was just about it. So we revamped all their pages with this strategy. Within 6 months, we quadrupled their clicks. This is from Google Search Console data. And not only that, they had over 1,200 conversions. And that was actually in the first 2 months, over 1,200 conversions. This works really well. I was like, okay, cool. Well, we have a DR 64, so maybe that's why this is working so well. We got to test this. So I have a test site called House Buyers Cash, where if somebody wants to sell their house for cash, they can call somebody who I'm selling the leads to and sell their house for cash. Guess what? We published, I think, 50 pages on a site with a DR of 0 and got #1 rankings. You can even see Google says 3 days ago, #1. And the house flipping industry is pretty rough. I mean, like everyone tries to do it. Then we've got another client who, funny enough, within 24 hours, the client calls us and they go, hey, can we like double or triple budget or something? And we're like, yeah, what's going on? They're like, we're already getting leads. My team was like, what? And so we started searching on Google. Oh, these pages literally, they're already ranking. We published them yesterday. What the hell? And they're driving leads. This is awesome. And the funniest part was, same thing. Google was saying this was published 1 day ago. And then also with, attorney industries, pretty tough, pretty cutthroat, not easy. We were like, all right, how do we get these pages to rank in a super tough industry with a lower DA site? Well, we started adding FAQ sections, and now when you search for tax attorney costs in different cities throughout Texas, our clients are not only ranking #1, but they're getting featured snippets. And this is with all the clients. So we just started saying, okay, well, let's answer everyone's questions on these landing pages with just robust FAQ sections. So now these FAQ sections are ranking for different things. They have, for example, crypto, like why hire a crypto tax attorney? And then when you search crypto tax attorney in a city in Texas, they're showing up with a featured snippet. The other cool thing is when you start adding reviews to the page and wrap it in review schema, we started searching on Perplexity, trying to say, okay, well, people are moving also to generative engines for their searches. How do we optimize for that? We just started searching on generative engines, like Perplexity and ChatGPT, and seeing where it was pulling results, and then seeing how we could optimize that. On the pages, we just started saying, okay, let's put 3 reviews. So this attorney has one from Avo, from FindLaw, and from Google on the page. Now when you're searching in Perplexity and you say, hey, who's the best tax attorney in this city? Perplexity is like, boom, #1, this site, according to FindLaw, Avo, and Google. It's like, oh. So I think this is really the next era of SEO, is not focusing solely on just all the basic things that we already know, such as obviously building backlinks works. So does technical SEO, speeding up your site. These are all things we can't ignore. But digging deep into what everyone always told me since I ever entered SEO was content is king, and just digging deeper into that, using eloquence formulas. you can create amazing content, better content than other writers, faster, for sure, and smarter, just using technology that's available, which is solving our problems. It's been my dream since day one in SEO to rank a page at the top of page one for clients and get them leads and sales that same day. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Also, this is like super scalable. You can target tons of long tail keywords with super high quality, completely unique content that passes AI detector tests. And the best part of all, you don't have to worry if Google's going to come around and slap your site down because they think you're doing something spammy. We usually launch about, depending on how many pages are published on the site per month, we do address that. So we're not going to launch 100 pages in 1 week when the site's only publishing 4 blogs a month. If, for example, 4 blogs a month, we'll figure, okay, we'll launch 10 a week, something like that. And when you're creating great content that speaks better to the user, addresses all their search intents, and has such amazing content that we've seen the dwell time on the page be higher than actual blog posts, Google's not going to look at that page and be like, that's spam, that's scammy. And they're just not going to derank you when all the data shows that you're actually providing real quality. So we do offer this as a service. What I showed you, you can build out yourself. And on our site, we built a little calculator. So if you wanted to build, say, let me go back. If you wanted to build, say, 120 pages, and without this process, you can only do 6 a month and you're paying $400 a month. You can play around with this all you want and see, how much faster this approach is. Also, if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to a page, direction.com/CMSEO. And on that page, you'll find details such as the customer profile prompt we use to create those super robust and detailed customer profiles. You'll find 40 different eloquence formulas that I put together, a bunch of different tones of voice pairings, and you can use that. You can just copy it and be like, hey, give me 20 more versions of this. Give me even more rhetorical devices to pair with this. Anyways, direction.com/CMSEO is that link. I know that QR code went away. Yeah, this is a little different.
Thank you, Chris. Amazing. All right, I'm going to take a question that I write on the over. You know the drill. Let's get ready. What is the publishing velocity should we follow with such AI content to avoid, of course, any footprint?
Yeah, it really depends on how many pages you're currently publishing. I wouldn't go and publish 100 pages at once or 100 pages a day if your site only ever publishes 1 blog post or 1 page a week. I think it really depends on the content velocity that you currently have for your site and just using what you think would best, not flagging Google.
All right. Did you manage to find a way to add relevant pictures? So start off from your own library to programmatic SEO generated articles.
Yes. So when you build out the sheet, you can have an image URL in there. And the way we build the sheet is we actually randomize things with like the city so that the images are geotagged. There's different ways you can upload that. With our plugin, this is our website. If you want to get in touch with us or on direction.com/CMSEO, once the plugin is ready, we have it in beta. It works really well for us and our clients right now, but in the next week or so, we'll have it ready for public download, and it will automatically, as the content as well as the images, it'll programmatically change the image names.
Amazing. You showed us some amazing results, ranking fast for the pages. Now the question is, do you manage to keep those ranking for a while, or it's just a fresh boost?
Yes, we've been doing this for over a year, about a year now actually, and we have seen nothing but page rankings go up. We haven't if you look at direction.com and Ahrefs, you'll see that if anything dropped, it's maybe by one position, and maybe that's because another SEO agency was like, what the hell, who is this company outranking me? I never heard of them. Or maybe because I didn't build links to that page for whatever reason, but we've seen nothing but steady increases in those positions holding.
Got it. We got a question from Jeremy. Do you think that by influencing your prompt so much, you make the output biased?
Say the first part again?
By influencing the prompt so much. So
Yeah.
probably with as you put the bias profile and you ask the prompt to talk in a certain way,
Yeah.
I think that you're going to make the output a bit biased.
Biased for...
I'm just...
I don't know if I understand. When you're randomizing so many different things in a single prompt, biased against... I'm not sure.
Well, that's one question. If you can ask again, would be good. Is there someone in the audience that maybe was someone inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bias in the lead to generate 3 million of output. You can get the same output because you're biased in with the instructions.
So the uniqueness of the output?
Yeah, you show us that you can work in your GPT assistant to take many bias, profile expression. So if you want to generate a big scale, you get this the exact same answer, saying in different ways. But you think that you influence too much the front where you go to Kirksey, you will get to do more, wide answers and just bias.
Yeah, the more information you have from the customer profile, the more data it can pull from, and you can get specific on what data you want it to pull from. So you can create, say, 100 prompts, and it's pulling from a specific set of data of pain points, and then the next 100 are pulling from a different set of pain points. And the next 100 are maybe not targeting pain points, they're targeting what the desired output of the client is when they land on your page. But I've never seen, not once has there been duplicate content of the same thing said because of these randomizations. Is that?
Yeah, you need that much, in your prompt, get the same results.
The same results?
If you want to rank on a specific keywords on Google, you need that many branching to get to there. And we can do it without even having those profiles. With us, meaning the same results even with more pages. Very
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Basically, because each section of the page has there's a different prompt assigned to each section of the page. So it's speaking to a different service or something on that page. So it's not the same prompt creating content for a whole page.
Yeah, and you need that much, right? Just with one prompt for one page.
You could try using one prompt for a whole page, but what I found is when you give more concise of a prompt, you get a better output. So the bigger the prompt is, the less quality the output of what it gives you. And we've tried creating sections of a page that had 6 different blurbs from one prompt, and it was nowhere near as good as if we just did a single prompt targeting that single section for each section. So yes, it does take time to build out the prompts for each individual section, but once you have that done, it's super scalable.
All right, thank you. How do you charge your clients for this service?
How do we charge?
Yeah, I guess someone just want to copy your business.
Yeah,
Don't mind sharing.
go for it. There's a lot of business out there. Please take this and make money from it. There's so much profitability in this, but ask your clients, what would you pay for a lead? $100? What if you can get that lead over and over and over again every single month? What is that worth to you? We do charge $6,000 for the setup of the sheet. We design the template, and from there, we typically charge anywhere from $60 to $100 a page, depending on how many sections are on the page. So if the competitor pages have an FAQ with 3 FAQs on it, well, we want 4. So that's going to be more sections on the page, which means another prompt that we have to create.
Got it. Thank you. How would you apply this to affiliate websites? Because mostly it was service, business, and things like that.
Yeah, if you're, for example, let's say a product. If you wanted to scale out descriptions for different products, you can build out sections on a product page that says, like, what are the best uses for this product? Maybe if you're selling a t-shirt, what is the best time of year for this? Or how many times can this be washed? Basically, answering questions, I think, would be the best. But also, just if you have a ton of different t-shirts that you're selling, variations of them, you really can create a similar landing page for each t-shirt that has different answers about t-shirts that is different based on the t-shirt. And you can say the t-shirt is styled a certain way. You can have details about that t-shirt in the custom project. So that's pulling from that specific document in the project knowledge.
Got it. How do you do the internal linking?
Manually. So there's definitely tools out there for WordPress, and there's AI interlinking tools. To be honest, I've never found anything to be close to as good as a manual SEO expert going in, or an SEO expert manually going in, determining the right anchor text and linking to it. Because a lot of AI tools, you can automate things, don't get me wrong. Could it work? Probably. I know for a fact it'll work really well if you have somebody who's an expert, especially that works on that site, knowing the interlink strategy and using the right anchor text, not being overly spammy with the same anchor text pointing to the page.
Got it. There's another question. What do you do when AI ignores custom instruction? Do you insult it or do you use physical violence? Iron is the second part.
So there's a lot of times where it will not follow the custom project instructions, even though you tell it to. This is where I repeat, hey, you weren't following the custom instructions. Try again. And then it'll be like, I'm so sorry. Here, let me fix that for you. And then it gives you another result. But yes, there is a lot of time that sometimes it will get lazy and you'll have to remind it. Follow the custom instructions. You used the banned word. Why did you do that? I get kind of annoyed with it sometimes, and it's funny. But
They're talking about this. Someone asked, like, how ethical is this type of programmatic SEO? I guess in the sense, like, if you say that you cover 150 cities, but you're not even in those cities.
We service companies in those cities.
Okay.
Completely ethical. If I can service somebody better than anyone else in that city, what's wrong with providing the best service possible in that city?
Yeah, I think it was more like a case like probably some people who say like, all right, I do SEO with Chiang Mai, but it's not a Chiang Mai at all.
Well, somebody in Chiang Mai better get better at SEO than the company.
With so much content, do you repeat target keywords, and how do you manage keyword capitalization?
Yeah, in the prompts, sometimes we will say, because for example, we were creating these SEO pages and we realized at some point some of them weren't ranking at all. So then we went back to look at the competitors and we're like, oh, they use the word marketing a lot. So I love using the Conductor SEO plugin, and it'll tell you the most commonly used words. And we're like, oh, marketing is only used maybe twice on our pages, whereas our competitors have it like 14 times. So then I go back into the prompts somewhere it makes sense, and I say, include the keyword X marketing in your response. So now I'm making sure that we're properly targeting all the right keywords. We haven't had any cannibalization issues because there's long tail. It's kind of hard to cannibalize for long tail.
Yeah, can you give a roundup actually of few tools you use? Because there's some question about AI tools, WP templates. So like which AI you like to use or which tool you use mostly?
I strictly only use Claude and GPT, and I use Grok here and there. Grok seems to be getting better. The only issue I have with Grok is that you can't build a project knowledge database in Grok, and Grok does love to use AI words. But if you first start off with, hey, I'm about to give you a lot of prompts and I need you to execute these prompts for me, but before we get started, and then you give it the custom instructions.
Okay.
But for the most part, I say 100% it's Claude GPT, Claude GPT, and then sometimes Grok. I think Grok's getting there, but I don't use Google because Gemini, 'cause I don't know, I don't want to tip Google off. Using their own tool, to me, it seems like, I don't know.
A more technical question, how do you link the custom project to G-Sheet?
So you currently, as of now, with GPT's AI and Claude's API, you cannot pull from a project knowledge base and the custom instructions in that custom GPT or that custom project. I've tried to build ways around this by building out an API where it pulls from Claude or GPT, and then it also leverages, it also is supposed to pull from specific Google Docs. And I built that into Sheets. What I found was the API, there's a drop in quality. And I still get so much better of an output if I just am copying from the sheet into GPT and then pasting from GPT into the sheet. So yeah, there's a little bit of a time-consuming process there, and there's ways around that could save you time, but for the best possible output, and that's what I want, because if I'm selling this to clients, I do not want anything bad to happen to their website. I want them to have nothing but the highest possible quality.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Then, before we close this, just to let you know, there is a networking event tonight, 7 p.m. at Chiang, which is one of the most famous clubs in Chiang Mai. So you should really go there and give a round of applause for Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.